Hello, I'm Jan Stuart, the Melvin R. Seiden Curator of Chinese Art at the Freer Gallery of Art and Arthur M. Sackler Gallery, the Smithsonian's National Museum of Asian Art. Please look closely with me at this sublimely exquisite porcelain cup. When you hold it up to the light, the thin porcelain is translucent, glowing with radiant luminosity and commanding our attention. It was made by the imperial command of the Yongzheng Emperor of China, who reigned in the Qing dynasty from 1723 to 1735. It may be of interest to learn that the Yongzheng Emperor was ethnically Manchu and descendant of forebears who conquered China in 1644. Therefore, as an art patron, he was particularly interested in using all that he commissioned as a means to demonstrate that he had fully embraced and subsumed Chinese cultural traditions. After all, they were the largest group of the empire. At the same time, the records of the imperial household archives reveal another political dimension of the porcelains that were made as fine as this cup. And they were only made in a very small number. They were made, we learn, either for the emperor's own use or as gifts for Mongolian and Tibetan notables, who represented two powerful constituent groups in the empire that Yongzheng presided over, which was more expansive than modern China. So even a cup as delicate as this one expresses a union of art and politics. The blue enamel that you see here was new in Yongzheng's period. It came about around the year 1728. It's actually a low manganese lead alkali silicate. Now, that sounds very technical, but the reason I bring that up is I want all of us to remember that when we look at porcelain of this period, it is a matrimony between technical genius and aesthetic refinement. The Yongzheng ceramic workers seem to have adapted the technology of blue enamel used in Chinese cloisonné into a material that they could use for the overglazed porcelain painting. Now, zooming in on the craggy mountains and the enchanting sea arch that reaches down to a rocky shoal, the artist veristically captured many details. Note the tree on the left. On the top of the cliff, you see a tree that juts out, and it has a vine artfully wrapped around it like a dangling silk sash. Or observe the gentle ripples of water beneath the stone arch. Take delight in the gnarled willow tree that is sprouting branches just at the beginning of spring. In the distance, we see Wash Mountains veiled with thick white mist. This mist, of course, is created by leaving the white porcelain body in reserve and painting around it. How skillfully the artist has beguiled us into seeing it as soft, rising vapor. The focus in the foreground is a skiff with a bent-kneed youth putting heft into his handiwork, pulling the boat forward. Have you noticed the cargo? Very precious. The pile of goods are fungus of immortality or fungus of longevity, an almost magical plant that he has been out gathering in the wild. This cup is packed with images to reinforce the idea of the emperor living a long life and holding an immortal legacy. The painting is not signed, but I think I know the artist. His name is Zhou Wanyu, a scroll painter in the Imperial Academy. By historical precedent in China, landscape was a subject filled with references to moral character. Seeking wisdom and benevolence in mountains and waters is part of the Chinese Confucian tradition. And the Yongzheng Emperor would have appreciated that point and seen that as a reflection of his own value. And then we encounter the line of poetry. It says, blue-green encircling South Mountain, merging into one color. The word for blue-green also evokes the colors of kingfisher bird feathers, which have hints of green, azure, and sapphire. For us as English speakers, our color lexicon strongly differentiates between blue and green, whereas in traditional Chinese language, it was more of a continuum. So our emperor holding this cup saw multiple colors in the one enamel hue. He saw bits of chill blue over the landscape at the end of winter, chromatically being transformed into spring's verdant greens. How artful that is indeed. Seals most often record the name of a person. And on a Chinese painting, there are marks stamped on the paper or silk using a red seal paste. But here the seal is painted on the surface in puce, or a rich purplish reddish gray enamel that was a new enamel color around 1728. But what the seal says is not the artist's name. It actually literally reads like longevity. What you will discover is that on imperial porcelains, the seals are invariably expressions of some blessing. Something you need to know about South Mountain is that its name appears in a commonly recited phrase, "May you live as long as South Mountain is tall." Therefore, Zhou Wenyu has created a scholar's painting of a mountain landscape, but with the verse in the seal, plus the boat loaded with the magical fungi, he has assured the emperor that his life will be monumental in age as well as accomplishments. Now, what I know is that the cup was potted in what's called the porcelain capital of the world. It's Jingdezhen, which is in southeast China. And the emperors, they sponsored a imperial ceramic workshop there. The potters were able to mix two types of materials, kaolin, a white mineral clay, with china stone, which is also minerals, feldspar, rocks that have been degraded. These materials combine to the best material for potting a sugary white ceramic. The emperor had the bowl, the little cup, potted there, sent over 800 miles to the capital, and in Beijing, he assigned one of his scroll painters to do the design. This is how I know the painter's name, because in the 28th day of the 10th month of the year 1732, the emperor wrote a decree, and he said, quote, "The enamel landscape in blue is very well done. Give 10 taels of silver in reward for the painting done by Zhou Wenyu." That's how we know his name. And that's a great reward. A farmer's annual income would have been 5 times less than what the artist was given for producing a small group of teacups, bowls, and teapot. So let me ask you, can there be any more aesthetically satisfying way of combining painting, poetry, seals, and porcelain than this cup? It demands contemplation and praise. When you think about it, could there be any better way if you were an emperor, the descendant in a line of foreign conquerors of China, to prove that you, as a Manchu sovereign, personally embody all that is best about Chinese culture? Thank you for looking at this cup with me.